Okay, so here's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Short time period. I've got like one or two big thoughts for you. I want to talk to you a little bit about the evolution of the modern manager. And a lot of this you know, but I'm going to give you a backstory behind it. And I'm going to do it in a way that I connect with it. And I think some of the people who we help, some of the people who work for us at Kinetix, some of the people I talk to on the blogs at the HR Capitalist and Fistful of Talent actually think about it. So if you think about evolution, what I'm going to talk to you is what I think are the adaptations, kind of the equivalent of opposable thumbs, that your managers who are really getting it done today just kind of naturally have. Whether you train them to have that or not, these are the people that are getting it done with your employees. And since we're talking about engagement, it makes sense that we would talk about this. The first thing I've got to tell you is that anytime I do this type of talk at a conference that's talking about engagement, I always think guys like this are going to come running in the room. And they're going to, Ed Fronheim's going to be in their ears, and he's saying, take him down, get him out, okay? And the reason I say that is because there's a lot of tools out there, a lot of great tools. I was just out at HR Tech in Vegas last week. There's a lot of great tools to help you get engagement. But, and you guys know this to be true as HR and talent professionals, if you think that the tools alone can get you the results you need when it comes to engagement, really that's the big lie, right? I mean, the big lie is that we can measure engagement and do some things, you guys have all done that type of like plan after an engagement survey, and it's tough, right? So what I'm here to do is give you a little bit different way of thinking about it, and I'm really going to focus you on a concept called patient zero, okay? All of you know that the CDC is here in Atlanta, correct? Okay, so when you think about outbreaks, new diseases, outbreaks, when you think about epidemics, new diseases that weren't here before, what the CDC will do is they'll look for patient zero, okay? And patient zero is the first person that had the disease, okay? That's the simple definition of it. And the reason they look for patient zero is that gives them the best chance at finding all the information they need to try and find a cure, or at least find a way to immunize against the disease, okay? So it's patient zero. And patient zero, when it comes to low levels of engagement in your organization, my organization, anybody you help, patient zero is pretty obvious, okay? Patient zero are these people. These are your managers, right? How many of you know some of these people? Show of hands. Everybody knows the psycho, right? I know a psycho or two. Everybody knows a man-eater, probably more to the point you know a woman-eater, because harassment is much more of a male-dominated field. And then how many of you know a tool, right? Everybody knows a tool or two that you're helping from a standpoint of managing talent in your organization. So patient zero is really, really obvious, okay? It's these people. The interesting thing is, and this is kind of one of the main points behind what I want to talk to you about today, you know, bad management and what it does to your engagement levels isn't dominated by these people, okay? You can have just simply ineffective managers, managers that are neutral in terms of the way they manage the people underneath them, and you still end up with bad engagement. You still end up with disengaged employees, okay? And when you think about those ineffective managers who combine with a lot of different things that are going on in your organization, here's the result, okay? These are your employees. Couple things. Some of you will like just totally disagree with this. Your employees hate you, okay? And they hate your organization. Now, if you say, Kris, that's strong. Okay, fine. If they don't hate you, they certainly don't trust you, okay? And I'm going to take you a couple steps through and tell you why they don't trust you and why that's important to engagement. But anytime we help companies, I talk to people in the field that are doing stuff like you and I are doing, it always comes back to this image. Even if they're paying lip service to your face, and even if they don't hate you, they certainly don't trust you, and that's what I want to spend a lot of time on today. Okay, so in the time that I have, I'm going to tell you I could take like 5 or 6 steps that I could usually do in terms of the evolution of the modern manager. I'm going to give you 2 stops. Okay, so we're going to go way back. We're going to go old school, and then we'll come to what I think is most important today, and really I've got 1 or 2 big ideas at the end of this that I think you can take away and you can use immediately. So I want to take 2 stops back, and the first one we're going to go way old school. We're going to go Henry Ford, Okay, that's the first place in the evolution of the modern manager that I want to take you. Henry Ford, most of you know him. You know, if you think about how people manage people in organizations, Henry Ford was a genius. He was not only a production genius, but he was a marketing genius. Now, my personal results on Ford products are a little mixed, okay? So I'm the owner of 2 expeditions in my life. The first one saved my wife's life and probably the life of my second child when she was 8 months pregnant. T-bone, in an intersection her side, she walks away unscathed, right? Can I get a little round of applause for Ford? They're not a sponsor, it's okay. The second one, the second expedition I owned, I've spent $8,000 post-warranty to keep it on the road. So I'm officially neutral. I'm neither engaged or disengaged about Ford products. But Henry Ford, marketing and production genius, and when you think about what he gave us, if you think about it from the manager's perspective, what he gave us is really you got that production line mentality, and we got work down to the smallest possible task where employees could be excellent at something, okay? And what that gave managers is there were always clear expectations, right? With what the employee was going to do on the production line, and it was very results-based. And that was great for both the manager and the employee. Now, what employees got out of the Ford production system, it's pretty obvious. You know, if you know history, they got an incredibly increased standard of living, right? If you look at the 20s and the 30s, that production line mentality, Ford, you know, the auto industry, other industries, all of that really increased the standard of living. And the good news for employees was if they kept their head down and did their jobs, it was the start, really the start in America, the true start, I believe, of that employer-employee contract, right? Do good work, and you'll always have a job. It was there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. But the more things stay the same, the more things change. In the interest of time, I'll give you one more stop. Then we'll talk about like current day, okay? The other stop I want to give you is let's go post-World War II, and let's go to the 60s and the 70s with a guy named Don Draper. How many of you know Don Draper? Okay, most of you in the room do. Quick explanation for those of you that don't. Fictional character, cable TV show is called Mad Men. Okay, and Don Draper, Mad Men follows the life of Don Draper in both his personal life, which is shady, and his professional life, which is somewhat less shady. Okay, but you can really learn a lot of organizational issues and a lot of organizational information through any of these shows. So that's Mad Men. And what we found, or what I found, like when I look at kind of the history of the workplace, is that in the 60s, post-World War II, you started seeing this creeping in of ideas becoming as important as raw production in the workplace. A lot of you work for companies that are heavy on intellectual capital. The 60s is really when that started. Mad Men's a great example. Let's take a look at this quote, okay? Look at it while I read it. People tell you who they are, but we ignore it because we want them to be who we want them to be. Mr. Don Draper. Now, if you're an employee at the ad agency, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, if you're an employee at that ad agency and that is your mission in life, what's that tell you about that traditional production line environment? It's gone in a lot of ways, right? Because the production line is now ideas, and things get a lot more complicated in terms of how we manage people. Okay, and I'm giving you some generalizations here, but you get the idea going from Henry Ford to now we go to Don Draper and this type of idea. Now, the good news was this is all the main characters. Most of them are employees. A few of them are wives of Don Draper, wives plural, I might add. But most of these are employees. The good news is even though ideas came in the 60s and 70s, ideas becoming as important as production, even though production was still really important and remains so today, all of these people, all of these employees still get the benefit of the Henry Ford system. The employee contract was still pretty much in place in the 60s and 70s. You guys know this, right? So it was still there. You did good work. You didn't have to be a superstar. You were probably going to make it. But you guys know it better than I do. That changed. Okay? You go into the 70s. You go into the 80s, the 90s, the first decade of this century, and things changed a lot. And just think about some of the trends you know. Okay, and I'm not going to bore you today. We don't have time with some of those details. Things like outsourcing. Okay, you can just say them along with me. Outsourcing, offshoring, re-engineering, reorganization, whatever you want to call it. You come up with 10 or 15 things that are almost cliches in today's organization, but they had a big, big impact, and they really changed where we're at today and what's required for managers. Here's a chart. This is all you need to know, okay? You can't read the fine print like I can. The blue shading is corporate profits, and if you look at the middle of that is 1990, is the middle of that chart where it really starts like scraping up, okay? That's corporate profits. The red line is relative number of employees needed to generate those profits. So you think about all those buzzwords organizationally, this chart kind of encapsulates that. But wait, there's more. This chart shows every recession post-World War II. The red stinky line, you see the red stinky line? The red stinky line is the most recent recession, okay? And a couple things about that. It goes deeper than the other lines, which equates into overall job loss in the economy. And going left to right, it takes longer to get back where it was, which means the jobs didn't come back. They're starting to, but it's taken dramatically longer than any other recession. And that's a result of all those factors that I shared with you, which means this, right? It means even if they don't hate you, and we've got a pretty conservative audience, you guys represent a lot of great companies, even if they don't hate you, they don't trust you, they don't trust me, they don't. And if you really dig in beyond the engagement scores, you'll find out that they don't trust you. And the only way out of that is to think differently about the modern manager and what's required out of the modern manager. So, where do we go from here? Got a few minutes left, I'll tell you what I think. Where we go from here, the answers are all around you. So if you think about what a lot of our great speakers are sharing with you today, what Workforce shares with you every month and every day on the web, the answers are everywhere. This is just a chart. You think about engagement studies, engage, not engage, actively disengaged, right? So the science is there. And what I love about the science, and I'm a big believer in some of the science, is how many of you are familiar with the work of Gallup, right? Behind engagement. I love the Big 12. So from an employee survey perspective, one of our earlier speakers talked about it, I love the Big 12. I love the Big 12 questions on your employee survey, okay? And I'm going to give you a couple of examples in a second. But the answers are already there. Like people have really, Gallup's done great work. A lot of the people in the room have done great work on this. And the questions are really designed not to get at results in the company or not to get at individual development plans or anything like that. The questions are there to basically see how this person feels about you and I in the organization. The big question is, what do you do after that? Let me give you a couple of examples of the questions in the Gallup 12. Just kind of give us a quick set, and then I'll wrap it up. Here's one, number 3. You know, if you itemize them and they stay the same in how they're used. At work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. Sounds cliche, but it's important with how I want to close, where I think we're going in the evolution of the modern manager. And then number 6 of the Big 12, there's someone at my company that encourages my development. Now, what I think that means is that the people who are already thriving as managers in your organization, you probably didn't train, okay? They've naturally got an adaptation that makes them successful for how they manage people in your organization and my organization. Here's what I think, okay? Here's what I believe. And I've seen enough of it. I don't have science for you, but I think directionally it's on the money and it's accurate. You can tell I'm passionate about it. I think the best managers in your organization have more to do with Ari Gold than they do with any type of managerial competency you've got in play. So if you've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on managerial competencies, good luck with that, because they're heavy and they look great on paper. I think they're incredibly hard to use. How many of you know Ari Gold? Okay, Ari Gold, real quick. Show is Entourage on HBO. It's long since gone. Ari Gold was a super agent in Hollywood on that show, okay? And what made Ari Gold special and why we can learn from him is that his job was to ruthlessly protect and forward the interests of his clients. That's what he did, okay? And he was known in the industry as being willing to do anything to do that, and clients came to him because he had that sole purpose in mind, which is really, really important. The other thing Ari Gold knew, this is the other parts of the cast. The superstar is Vinny Chase in the black jacket, Okay? Ari Gold knew about the 80-20 rule. He knew that 90% of his revenue was going to come from one or two clients, but he had to take care of the other clients in a similar way in order to get the big fish in his tent. He even had to take care of the friends and hangers-on, which you could really equate to the employees, right, that run in packs in your organization. He knew that he had to take care of everybody to make sure that the stars were aboard. And that kind of brings me to the close, okay? The big idea for you, I've got a couple more things for you, and one thing that I want you to take away, and I would encourage you to take away, the adaptation that is present, like in all your organizations, is the managers who are thriving are career agents for their employees, okay? They're not, it doesn't matter what managerial competencies you have. The one thing they do is they ruthlessly forward the interest of the employees who report to them, okay? Think about that for a second. If you want to know, do I have any of these people, I'm going to read you a couple quotes, okay? I'm going to put them up on the screen. If you can attribute these quotes to any manager in your organization, they're a career agent. Here we go. I'm not here to just grind on you to get results. I'm here to make you better. So you're going to have more fun, make more money over time, and accomplish your career goals while we get results for the company. Okay? Second quote, probably more important than the first one. I'm willing to do that even if it means you promote yourself by taking a better job with another company because we made you better. Okay? A couple quick things about that. And then I'm going to close with like the big thing you can take away, and I hope you do. I hope a couple of you take it away because it'll be powerful for you. The big things about this, when you think about career agents and the managers that have the equivalent of opposable thumbs in your organization, you didn't even know it, but they just popped up. They're like the frog, like with the extra leg that's jumping higher now. Okay? The reason this is powerful is because they put the interests of the employee in every way before results. And they know, just like the old slogan, hey, take care of the customer and results will follow, same thing with employees. So they know. They're not going to talk about results first. They're going to talk about the employee, what's good for their career, knowing that they can tie it to results. And then the external piece is incredibly important, okay? Because really, they've got to be willing to lose that talent in order to get that employee, you remember the girl, right, with the middle bird up? In order to break through that barrier, they've got to be willing to have all those conversations and get it done. Couple more things, and then I'm done. Some of you are saying, okay, I like it, Kris. Give me a couple of ideas. Here's a couple of things that managers as career agents do. They help employees build portfolios of work that they can market inside and outside the company. They contrast good and great performance, and they tell them why. Because it's good for you, stupid, right? It's going to be good for your career. They let the employee take control of one-on-ones. What do you want to talk about? Like what's in your way? They don't do that authority-based control. They always talk about what's in it, not for them, but for the employee. And every conversation starts from the lens of the employee. Final piece. Okay, and this is like one thing you can take away with you for your next employee survey, or you just put it out. You don't have to wait for the employee survey. If you want to shine a light on two sets of people, the people who have this adaptation in your organization, and you want to shine a light on the people who don't, to put that inherent pressure and start conversations with your executive team around this concept of the career agent, I'm going to give you one question you can add to any employee survey. And it's a verbatim question. Most powerful thing, apart from the G12, you can put this question in your next employee survey. This is the money question, okay, because it cuts through all the BS. Other than the manager you work for, who would you most want to work for in our company and why? Okay? If you ask that question, here's what's going to happen. For every 100 employees that you have, there's going to be one or two names that repeatedly come up. And here's why. People talk. If Ed Fronheim is the best career agent in a company with 200 employees, people in other departments are going to learn that. And even if they don't do anything remotely like what Ed can use, they'll answer this question and say, I want to work for Ed Fronheim. Because I've seen 2 or 3 people leave the company and double their salary after they spent 3 or 4 years with Ed Fronheim. Put this question in your next employee survey, or just put it out there and give them lots of space to answer it in terms of why, and you'll have incredibly powerful stuff. That's the adaptation that really is driving results for your manager is career agent. Your managers have to be career agents, and that's where we are in the evolution of the modern manager. Thank you.